Juan Sebastian had a really good story he brought to my attention with a client that had employees working overtime in California and some nuances in Workday. Um, Sebastian, can you give us the story on that? That was a good one, I thought.
Yeah, definitely, Tony. So what happened is that the client asked us if we could set up the calculation rules for the overtime in California. They already had the rules set up for Kentucky for overtime, so that you're paid overtime if you work more than 40 hours a week or if you work 7 consecutive days. Nothing fancy, it's just paying 1.5 per hour when you reach the overtime rules. The only thing is that for California, they have um, a different set of rules, and sometimes they overlap each other. So the configuration for this one was a little bit more trickier. Specifically for all basic overtime rules, we had to create four separate layers. One that pays you 1.5 after you reach 8 hours a day, a double time after you reach 12 hours worked a day, a third one, that is the one that we mentioned before, that pays you 1.5 per hour after you reach more than 40 hours a week. And finally, one that pays you 1.5 per hour after you reach the 7 consecutive day work over 1 week. The real issue is that those rules often conflict and overlap each other. So 1 hour could qualify for multiple rates if you're not careful enough. But the only thing is that Wordy doesn't give you that configuration by default. You have to do a certain combination so that it allows you that one rule doesn't overlap each other so that you don't end up with crazy numbers. Like, for example, you just work, let's say, 42 hours a week, and two of those hours were on, let's say, on a Thursday. So you end up working 10 hours. So at the end of the day, could end up, if you don't set up a order configuration, you could end up with, for example, 42 hours worked a week, but 4 hours of overtime because both rules are applying at the same time. That was the issue.
So how did you solve that issue in Workday to make it a smooth process for the client?
Mhm. The magic in all of that is that we had to build a logic using time calculation rules and time entry filters, and finally, some time calculated fields that evaluated which rule should apply, that only apply the one that has the highest applicable rate. For example, we made sure that daily double time takes priority over the weekly overtime, and we filter out the overlapping hours so that they weren't counted twice.
Got it. So it sounds like the client ends up compliant, payroll runs cleaner, workers get paid correctly every time.
Exactly, Tony. So California compliance in Workday isn't automatic, but it is doable with the right setup that we mentioned before.
Awesome. So for anybody else unsure about how their Workday instance is handling California overtime, taking a look at fixing it this way could save a lot of headaches later.
That is huge, Tony. And just to plug in here, being compliant in California is really important. Like that is the state that I cannot quote anything, but from my impression and work compliance and compliance, that is where they have the most headaches, right? So you gotta compliant in California. It doesn't come ready out of the box. If you have any questions, any doubts, we're here to help. Even if it is just, to take a look under the hood. If you need any help from us, like we're more than happy to just assist.